Hey and welcome to day number one with story number one of the 25 days series, all the way from December 1st to Christmas, where every day we're going to present one story out of 25 stories I would tell my younger self. I'm Julian, I'm the author of the book, and I would love to give you some background information on these stories. Today we're going to talk about story one, and if you have read the story already, it's called The Swimming Story, and I'm not going to talk so much about the story itself, rather more about some background and some insight. So the story is about the swimming story. I was 5 years old, and basically my mom didn't want to give me ice cream without me having to swim 10 times back and forth. It was her way of teaching me that I always had to give first in order to get something in return. So it was her lessons in nothing in life is going to come for free. And with this, she didn't mean that she didn't want to talk necessarily about money. She was talking about that I had to give value if I wanted to have something in return. There's some very, very powerful lessons in there. And I didn't talk about all the lessons in this story and some of the lessons I spread over the other stories because I felt even this first story was such a powerful thing. The first lesson, and that was really, really important to me, is that many people today, they always want it the opposite way. There's so many people who say, okay, if I get something, then I'm willing to step up my game. If I get a job raise, then afterwards I'm willing to work 10 hours longer. But first, I want the job raise. Well, this mindset is not going to get you far. There's a very famous saying by Jim Rohn who says, if you want to have more, you have to become more first. So if you want to have more, that means you need to give more. You need to step up your game. And my mom basically forced that into me at such a young age because she said, yeah, you know what? All the other kids, they get the ice cream just like that. But you have to swim first. So I learned that I had to swim, I had to give, and I got something. The cool thing was, and my mom did this really smart, many times she gave me 2 ice creams in return. So that meant I understood, okay, the other kids did get 1 for having to do nothing, but I got 2 and I had stepped up my game. So what you should take away from that I learned at a very young age is that you need to give first. So if you're thinking now, okay, in my life, what do you want to have more? Do you want to have more money? Do you want to have a better relationship? Do you want to have more friends, better friends? Do you want to have a bigger circle of influence? Do you want to have more influence to other things? You will get those things if you step up your game, if you give more. This is so important. You have to give more first. The second thing, and I haven't talked about this in this story, but this was one of the key things that I kind of realized, and this was from the perspective from my mom. My mom had a lot of pressure from other parents. She had a lot of laughter from other parents. Imagine, put yourself into her shoes. She was a young mom. She was, I think, 27, 28 years old. At that time, probably maybe 30. So she was inexperienced. I was her first child, and she had no clue how to raise a child, right? I mean, it was a first. So all the other parents, and even my grandparents, so her parents, were laughing at her. What a silly routine she has for her child. And me, and if you read the story, I'm me telling her that she's the worst mom ever and that I basically don't love her. So put yourself into her shoes as a young parent. I think this must be super devastating. On the one hand, you get this pressure from other parents, you get the pressure from your own parents, and you get your pressure from a child who tells you doesn't love you anymore. Well, to me, it shows that if you are listening or watching this or reading the book, and you are in a situation where you have an inner gut feeling that this is the right way to go, and you have everyone around you who laughs at you, who tells you it doesn't work this way, you probably are going to be on the right track with this. So don't always listen to the people who try to teach you how to do certain things. Listen to your inner gut feeling. If you have a deep conviction that this can work and this is why you're doing this, then you are on the right track. So from a perspective from my mom, I thought this was, big kudos to her because I think this was really, really tough from both perspectives when I look at that. The last thing that I want to talk about in this story is the lesson about motivating people and at the same time of being able to live up to increasing challenges. I've been working in teams and I've been working with team members for a very long time. We had a company here in Asia, and we set this up. And I had to work with people where I had to motivate people. At the same time, I was being motivated by other people. Of course, this is just how our world works. Many times, a company that I was working with set us challenges that were so high that many of us didn't even consider them being possible. Even though they would have been possible if we would have just believed in them being possible. The problem why we didn't believe it was possible was because these challenges came in from 0 to 1 million basically, and nobody believed that they could achieve it. So if you're working with someone and you want to motivate them, the best way to do that is to do that in incremental steps with a long goal in mind. For example, my mom had this clear goal that she wanted me to swim 10 times. This sounds silly, it's 10 times. But for me as a young kid, it was unimaginable to swim 10 times after I had spent the whole day at the pool. So what she did was she started with 5 times. That was reachable to me. 5 times, sure, I can do that. So if you're working with someone and you need to set revenue targets, or you need to set repetition targets, or you want to do hour targets, whatever it is, well, have a long-term goal, maybe even have the perspective of having increases in the future. You can tell this to the other person. But at the same time, you want to start at something that the other person can imagine and can envision. Because there's one of the worst things is, if you set goals to someone that person cannot envision, that person is not going to be able to achieve that goal. It's one of the key things. If I tell you, okay, imagine earning $50,000 a month, 50, and so far you have been earning $2,000 a month, you're not going to be able to imagine 50,000. And if I set you this incredible goal of doing this the next month, you're probably not going to go for it because you're like, oh, this is so far away from me. But if we do step-by-step approaches, suddenly 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 10,000, 15,000, all these steps, they are imaginable. And since they are imaginable, you can do it. And if you do it, you're willing to work for it. So these were some of the insights that I got away from story number 1. I hope you get some massive value out of that. If you do, please let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Share this. It would make the world if you give me some feedback on that. If you like it, if you don't like it, would be super great. And of course, if you want to get updated on a daily basis, subscribe to our newsletter. All the links are below. Or head over to Facebook where we have our community. And with this, get some massive value out of that. I talk to you tomorrow with story number 2. Looking forward to that. Have a wonderful December 1st. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Cheers, Julian.